it's a small group. So I would like to welcome Dr. Christoph Eberhard. I happened to meet him 2 years ago. So we have a common friend who is actually kind of a yoga teacher and into organic and sustainable practices. He's an environmentalist. So he invited Christoph for a Tai Chi workshop at his house in Daniken. So 2 years ago in June, I had gone and attended. And it was a very nice experience. 15 of us stayed in one house and we did it. So, basically he's an anthropologist, has a very long connect with India, has spent a year in JNU for his master's, one of the degrees in 90s.
International studies. I was doing international law. So I was your neighbor actually.
I was also at JNU for about 1.5 years.
Oh, which hostel?
No, I was there as a faculty before joining Department of Computation and Integrated Sciences.
So, has been coming frequently, has studied yoga extensively, I think, in various parts of the country, and also has been studying Tai Chi, Udang. So he visits China very frequently, I think every year or so, and spends some time there fine-tuning his martial arts and Tai Chi in particular, and studies yoga in India. So we are very fortunate to have him with us today. And so over to you. He'll tell us more about what he does. And we have Professor Sanjeev Jain with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. So on the one hand, I was intrigued and happy to find out that you have this Center for Human Values, you call it?
Value education.
For value education. In the in the Institute of Technology, So it's good to have engineers, you also think a little about what you're doing here, besides doing engineering. And so this, I didn't remember the name exactly, so it's Vivekananda Study Circle?
Yes.
That is. And when I first started to discover India a long time ago, one of the first people I stumbled across was Swami Vivekananda. And I found it quite inspiring because he was the one who really made yoga popular at the beginning, end of the 19th century in the West. And he also promoted this idea of interreligious dialogue. And so he's one of the, I would say, forerunners also of that stream of dialogue between the different spiritual traditions of the world. At the same time, not only intellectual dialogue, but always remembering things that you experience and what you practice. And he said that when he was searching, when he was young, he used to go to people and ask them, did you realize God? And he never really answered until he met his master, Sri Ramakrishna. So there's also this part of experience, experiential knowledge, not only talking about things, but living things. And then at the same time, once you have experience, opening up to dialogue with other people who have maybe similar, but at the same time different experiences. And so that is why I'm even more happy, in that context, because Swami Vivekananda really inspired me. So I'm happy to be able to talk in a space which is following up his inspiration. So the topic we decided, but it's a very broad topic. So we have small groups. I think we should just let things come more naturally, for what interests us. So the general topic is on spirituality and living together in the contemporary world. And it's on the one hand such a oh wow. You will hear me in stereo Dolby surround. Okay. So you hear me more of I'm hearing myself now. Yeah, so it's a very broad topic. And so what I thought maybe would be useful is to share an experience with you, right? to share an approach, instead of just giving you like a more academic kind of lecture. And in order to do that, first of all, I will have to tell you a little who I am, so that you can understand where I'm speaking from, you know, what my kind of experiences, my context. And once you have a little of that context, then I will tell you what I'm going to tell you. And trying to make it a little like multi-drawer. So I give you a certain number of ideas. And then I think as we're a small group, then we get the rest of the time so you can answer, you can give your own points of view. So it becomes more of a discussion. So that's what I propose. And as you will see, the central, for me, element of this living together in the spiritual way, maybe, nowadays, the main factor is dialogue. And so this I already want to say, I will come back to it many times, but it's a dialogue on 4 different levels. Usually we start dialogue with others, and by hearing things that we may not be accustomed to hear, by hearing things that may even shock us, we may go through our own existential crisis if we really listen. Of course, we can say, oh, this is just some nonsense, or we discard it, but then we don't dialogue. But if you really take the other person seriously, it can be a very, very terrible experience, actually. And one of my big inspirations was the scientific director of the Intercultural Institute of Montreal, Robert. He basically was a Catholic priest. So he said, intercultural dialogue is crucifying but liberating. And so this idea that it's hard, but at the same time it blows how your mind is imprisoned by your work. So the dialogue with others brings you to another kind of dialogue, which is dialogue with yourself. Because little by little dialogue with others, you start to understand who you are. Because you start, oh, I don't agree. Why? So what do I think? No. So it's the second aspect of more internal dialogue with oneself. So oneself, others. But then we're in an environment. Many traditions also emphasize very much the link to our environment. Maybe like for sustenance, when you want to eat something, where does your food come from? Where does your shelter come from? What is your body coming from? We're engineers. So all the elements of our body, where are they made? They're made in the stars. Some people say we're stardust. Really, it's not just like a poetic way of saying things, it's actually physically, it's true, scientifically, that's what we are. So what is our connection to nature? And if you look in the Indian yogic traditions, or you look in the Chinese traditions, Chinese call it, they like it very much, life nourishing. And the idea, how do you nourish your life? There's practices, but then one of the important things is have a beautiful environment to practice. So natural environment is very important. And especially for us, who come maybe more from an urban sometimes setting, we have to reconnect to that. And sometimes when you start to reconnect, you start to understand that actually there's a whole level of dialogue with nature that needs to be had. And if you come from some traditions which remain more rooted, that will be the first kind of dialogue, which for them is very, very obvious. And then the fourth level is what I call and beyond. There is, maybe that's a little good saying to start the presentation with. You know, like the wise man points the moon and the foolish man looks at the finger. We very often look at the fingers. And sometimes we focus so much on the fingers that we have no clue towards where that finger points. And so we should never forget that all the forms, our physical bodies, the environment around us, our concepts, our cultures, our traditions, the different spiritual paths, whatever is there, are just an expression of that which is beyond form. You cannot ever put a form to it. So there's always this dimension which is there. Some people will call it God, other people will call it Buddha nature, other people will call it the Tao, whatever, you know. Or in the first line of Tao Te Ching, which is the basic text of Taoism. In the very beginning it says that that which can be named is not the Tao, because you cannot put a name. And then association of ideas, another person I like very much, Raymond Panicard, was actually the master of Robert Vachon, I told you about just now. He was a very, very important philosopher. Devoted his whole life to intercultural, interreligious dialogue. He had started a conference in Montreal many, many years ago by saying, what I'm going to say cannot be said. And it's because it cannot be said that it's worth trying to say it. But always remembering that all the words that may come, it's just little pointers which point to what you actually want to share. And Robert Vachon, I just told you about, he had written this down, and he told me, because he became a very good friend of mine, that once he was at home, he read, you know, all the notes he took, and so he saw that he had written down this little sentence. And for Robert Vachon, I know Robert Vachon heard this when he was in his 40s, and that became like a thing for his whole life, you know, for the next decades to come. He was into deepening what this actually means. You know, this is like one sentence of Panicard. So just to say that, okay, there's this like 4 dimensions I want to explore a little with you. And not forgetting that this last dimension is really, really important. Never forget about this openness and fundamental creativity of life. And especially sometimes, okay, I'm not an apologist, but I'm also basically trained as a lawyer. I was a law student. So don't see it as an offense when I tell you that the perception that we very often have of engineers from outside, you know, it's a bit the perception that people have of lawyers, like from the outside. You know, it's people in the little boxes, you know, they don't manage to get out of the box. So maybe in our kind of context, it's even more important, you know, to also not forget that life is not just a little box. You know, it's all these things which are around, and which I sometimes sum up in a little phrase. So you told me before that you went on the YouTube channel, huh? And so there's always this little sentence that I always put in, that life is not a void to be filled, it is a plenitude to be discovered. What I try to say by this is that we are very busy filling our lives with stuff. Different things. It's our studies, our jobs, our family, many, many, many things. And all of them are beautiful things. It's not that we should not be doing them. But if we have the feeling that our life only exists because we're filling it with so many, many things, what does it show? Does it mean that we are not having the confidence that life itself, there is something very rich there? You know, why don't we want to look what is there? You know, why do we always want to fill it with some stuff? And so if we manage to let go, and so maybe that's the other part of what I want to talk about. If through this dialogue, through listening to other points of view, other people, starting to dialogue with what am I wanting to do? What are my thoughts? How do I position myself? How do I fit in this bigger environment? What is this relation with beyond or whatever? Then maybe these are also ways of, let's say, starting to celebrate your life a bit more, you know, and see it a bit less like than just a chore, you know, that you have to go through, you know. So that's the framework. So, who am I? Just very shortly. I'm a European. Initially, I'm Austrian, born in Austria, but then we moved to Romania when I was small. At that time it was under Ceausescu, it was still a dictatorship, you know, so it was quite an experience. And then we moved to France, so I did most of my studies there. And then I continued as a big law, but I wanted to understand how do we organize our living together. So that's the second part of what we're talking about, spirituality and living together. You know, it's nice to be very well grounded and harmonized on your own, but there's many other people, and you may not agree with them. You may not. But how do we find a way to live together harmoniously, and if possible without destroying everything? You know, so this thing was there since I was quite small. So that's why I studied law. So less to become a lawyer, but more in order to be able to think about how to organize, how to shape the world we want to live in. And because I'm Austrian, I was in France, I thought like it would be interesting to do some comparative law. So I went to Germany for 1 year, so learning some German and some French law. And once I had my master, I came to India to JMU. That was also like a very interesting moment in time. It was the beginning of the 90s, when India was debating very much about should we or should we not open up to the global market, you know, and so it was that time of change. And it made me aware that all this intercultural dialogue I already had experienced in a European setting was nothing like with the, let's say, cultural shock I encountered here. The points of view were, again, very, very different. Because at least in Europe I had the same underlying matrix. But here, like, it was not the same thing anymore. And so I found that maybe it should be very important to think about this question of intercultural dialogue. Because, as I already mentioned before, dialogue is not just, oh, we talk together and we love each other because, you know, dialogue is a really tough thing, especially if you have to make decisions. You know, now we're just dialoguing. But imagine that we have to make some common policy decision after getting out of this room. Then we start to see all the consequences of the thoughts, you know. And so how to do that without getting all the sleep into one frame? How can we function between different frameworks, different worldviews? And so that is how the idea came to link actually anthropology to law. So law is how society is organized, and then anthropology is how it works. The idea was, can we not learn something about how different people in different parts of the world actually function, to then draw some consequences to see how can we from that model our institutions or things, also it corresponds a little to this. And so this led me to a big journey on intercultural dialogue. So more in the field of first human rights, this whole question. Now it's not so relevant anymore, but like in the 90s there was very much this question: are human rights universal or not? You know, is it just a cultural thing, or you know, or what to do? And so I did my PhD on this, on human rights and intercultural dialogue, and then little by little it moved me to the questions of governance, sustainable development, but always with the question: how do we live together in a responsible way, basically? And that always also leads you to ask the question about dialogue between different traditions of knowledge. Even when I was talking about human rights, right question was, how do different people in the world think about law? Law not understood as book law, you know, but like customs. How do we organize our living together? But then the human. What is human? So I read in that thesis, and I was even quoting Swami Vivekananda also in that thesis. It was like, okay, what are the different traditions, spiritual traditions of humankind saying about what is the human being? What is a spiritual tradition? Basically, spiritual tradition is one way of trying to understand who we are. So should we not start a dialogue between those different traditions to get an idea of what is this human being? You know, we want to talk about human rights, or what is the human? So at that moment I had started already, like also a deeper dialogue also on different systems of knowledge. And then in the wake of working on sustainable development and so on, questions which came up were health problems, issues of health policies. And in countries like in India, we have the traditional systems of medicine also. Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, all these systems. So what is happening there? So again, now it's becoming very popular, but even like beginning of the 90s, you know, not so many people were really interested in that. I mean, the future is in the modern system, you know, but you know, okay, we recognize there's Ayushan, you know, but that's what it was like not the big thing, you know. So the question was how to enter into dialogue with that. And now it has become a big fashion, but what is happening in that big fashion? You have to get certified at university if you want to become a Vedya nowadays. Now they want to do this like standardization for yoga and all these things. But what happens when you take these traditions out of Guru Shishya Parampara systems into like university settings? What happens? Is it working? Is it not working? What are the potentials? Lots of questions are there. And on these questions I also realized that at least in Europe, at some point I wanted to go deeper into these things, and academia did not really want to hear so much about that. So there's certain extents to which you can push certain things, and then there's also certain things where certain moments your audience may not be completely ready to be able to listen to what you say. Why? Because it challenges too many assumptions. And assumptions also means power that you may hold, and how curricula are designed, and how schools are designed, and all that kind of things. And so this, let's say more, let's call it academic, but it's not so much academic. I did it in the academic setting, but let's say this academic thing ran parallel to a more personal research. Since I was 6 years old, I started with the Japanese martial arts, with judo, and then karate, and then moved to the Chinese martial arts, and then yoga also interested me. So little by little I started deepening those things. And by doing it, I started to realize that there is unsuspected links which started to emerge after decades. I was always doing my meditation practice and my yoga practice and my Tai Chi and so on, but that was one part of my life. And when I was doing my academic things, okay, I brought these things in, but and then little by little, what I really started to realize, especially if you work in this field of dialogue with others, and I think that the world we live in, we have to. You want, you don't want, you have to, because like our human population is exploding more and more, with more and more people on the planet, which is not getting any bigger. We are more and more interconnected. So wanting it or not wanting it, you have to deal with the fact that not everybody is sharing your culture, your world vision. We have to open up to that. But it's difficult. And I realized that what helped me, to a certain extent, to do that, and also to live through the existential crises, that you go through when doing that, was my anchoring in those traditions of the practices. Because you have a certain relationship with your body, with your mind. This dialogue of knowing yourself better, and finding some kind of stability in yourself. And if you feel very, very insecure, very inside, it's very, very difficult to really have a dialogue with somebody else. Because immediately, whatever the person is going to say, you will feel it as an attack. You will feel, it will be very, very difficult to open up. And so that's when I started to realize how much actually, like even our intellectual work and also thinking about our political challenges and economic challenges, how much it is also related. We must not only relate to these outside things, as we were saying before, but we must relate to ourselves. And as long as we don't do that, what we may do outside will be projections of our inner problems. And only that. And so that is where these two things, which maybe it can appear for some maybe a bit strange, of living together in spirituality. Sometimes you think spiritual, you may think of going to a cave, and not returning, or something like this. Or maybe doing some social work, but you do your social work, but it's not that you're doing with others, that you do your thing, for others. Service. But so it may be a strange thought at the beginning, like, how is this spiritual thing and living together, how are they connected? But I've given you some first, from my point of view, insights of this thing of wanting it or not wanting it. The situation we are in the world nowadays is a situation of pluralism that we have to deal with. And the only way to have to deal with it, that we can deal with it, is by opening up to this dialogue. And if you want to do the dialogue, there's more internal aspects, and the traditions, spiritual traditions can be very helpful for this. But then there's also the collective challenges that we have. And I studied the social sciences and so on, and they are very, very helpful for doing that part. And somehow we have to see, how is it possible, to somehow bring those things together. So, let me develop a little these 4 dimensions of dialogue. The first distinction that we could say is that one dialogue is between humans, ourselves or others. So this is more like anthropocentric. It's a human focus. Then the dialogue with our environment, we could call it as more cosmocentric. That's on the cosmos. And the last, with beyond, if we talk in the background of the culture, which would use that terms, we could say it's more centered on the divine. In India, we have a tendency to talk a lot about the divine. The Buddhists, not so much, but other traditions, the notion of the divine is there. Which does not go without saying, because like when you go to China, it's not exactly the Taoist, it's a different way of looking at things. But so let's call it divine dimension, not just to say it's this thing which is beyond and which cannot be captured in the words as such. And so these 3 dimensions, we should always remember that. Because Raymond Panicard, I was talking about before, said that any kind of spirituality which may emerge nowadays has to address these 3 dimensions. Why? Because he says they're constitutional of reality. Reality is like that. Even the cosmos, we can say no, but before there were human beings, the cosmos was there. Yes, but that's because you think in terms of time. But if you think the cosmos as it exists, it also contains the past and the present and the future. And in that thing, the human being is part of it. So he says cosmos and human being is there. And this underlying dimension of freedom, of mystery, that can never be exhausted, it is also there. So if we want to have any kind of, let's say, complete not meaning that everything is inside, but complete in sense it addresses the different aspects of what is important, it has to have these 3 dimensions. And if you look at different cultures have emphasized different parts more or less. Certain cultures have emphasized a lot the divine. Certain cultures have emphasized a lot the natural environment. Certain cultures have emphasized a lot the human being as such. And the interesting thing is once you emphasize one thing, the other things become kind of, you don't see them anymore. And so that is why it's very helpful when you talk with another culture where they've been focusing on this other thing. That's why you have a cultural shock. How can you think like that? And then you have to take the time, and then little by little, the dialogue also starts to reveal things in yourself that maybe you were not aware of, because it has been hidden, because it was not aware, because sometimes even it has been pushed away. Because you're like, I cannot think like that, if you're like in a very rationalist setting, you want to talk something divine or something like this, you're like, oh, shouldn't, no? Or you're like in a very, very more rigid, like divine-centered thing, and then you talk about my free will, and of course, maybe you will not do that kind of thing. So you may even, what is the word? Repress individually and collectively some of our aspects because they don't fit in the predominant religion. So what is important to keep in mind is that our whole discovery of this life which is not a void to be filled, it's like in these 3 levels that it is happening. So the first more human levels, and again, please understand that when I'm making this, they're also interconnected. It's not like, as I told you before, I'm a human being, I have a body, but my body is made out of atoms, out of stars. We're in Vivekananda Center, so you know maybe a little about those who are there. I know you know, but maybe those who I don't know if you used to come sometimes, they have the Pancha Mahabhuta, they have like the 5 elements. So, but your whole body is that, and it's not only your body. Then you have the Pancha Kosha, you have like your 5 chefs. So, it's your reality even as a human being is much, much more than just like what we sometimes think of. But just in order of convenience, we make a distinction like this. So, let's start with the dialogue with others. There's just one very useful thing I would like to share. And I think that which we can then also use for dialogue with ourselves and dialogue with our environment is that sometimes, and especially if we're engineers or when we're lawyers, dialogue means debate. It means we have a problem and we want to solve the problem, and now I will give you one hypothesis and then you will tell me if it's wrong, it's right, and then little by little we figure the things out. And in the debate, little by little we will come closer to the truth. And the idea is even that once all the inconsistencies and all the problems will be solved, we will reach the truth as such. Now, Panikar calls this, it's just I'm giving you the word because it's just useful, to then be able to, oh, we're talking about this, we're talking about that. He says this is dialectical dialogue. It's dialogue through reason. And this is the idea like two heads think better than one alone, because we can get rid of the inconsistencies. This is very important. Especially as an engineer, you should be doing those things when you have something that you want to work, you want to debug, your but it has its limitations. And what are the limitations? Or what are the conditions for it? The conditions are that we exactly know what we're talking about. Once we have defined that we're talking about this and we want to look at this and we look at it from that point of view, then okay, then it's very valid. But what happens if we may not be talking from the same perspective? If we're not rooted in the same point of view? And we talk about human being, and for example, one person comes to it from a tradition which is very human-centered, and the other one from a cosmic perspective, and the other one comes from a more divine perspective. Okay, there's a human being, but everybody's putting something very different in that same word. So there, if we start to have the same kind of idea of dialogue, what is going to happen is that Dipti, when she's telling me, will become wrong. I said, you're wrong, it cannot be like that. And then whoever has the better arguments, more power, will push his thing through. But we have not understood what the particular position or point of view was. So that's what Panikar says, we need a different kind of dialogue. We call this like dialogical dialogue. Says there what is important is not so much the reason, the logos, but what we call mythos, which is myth. But myth in the sense it's a dimension which allows us to see. It says myth is like light. We don't see the light, we see through light. I think he said somewhere, so myth is that in which you believe so much that you do not believe that you believe it. It's this thing, it's so much inside of you that it's only when you encounter another myth with somebody who is thinking something completely different and suddenly, how can you think? It doesn't make any sense. And then only, okay, well, I try to understand, and then you really want to, and then it becomes a big shock, because but so everything I thought, I took for granted is not like this anymore. That's the level of myth. And at the moment it becomes conscious, of course this myth becomes logos, because it becomes reason, in the sense of it becomes known. And at the same time you're in another myth. Your myth has changed. Your underlying horizon of understanding things has changed. So this is very important. In all these dialogues that we're having with people, what kind of dialogue are we having? And each time when you start to have the dialogues where it's the developed world and the underdeveloped world, and then the formal sector and the informal sector, and all these kind of dichotomies, that's very much a product of dialectical thinking. Because what is the informal sector? Well, the informal sector is that which is not formal. What does it tell us about the formal? Nothing. The South, like in developing studies, the South. What is the South? It's what is not the North. And what is the North? You just construct things by projecting something into it, but by not opening up to what they are. So actually the sentence I told you, like, which I like so much, like, proud of it. It's like, that's my message. Like, life is not a void to be filled, but it's a planet to be discovered. Actually, the thing which inspired me is Robert Vachon at some point said, the other is not a void to be filled, it's a plenitude to be discovered. Because in the end of 60s, 70s, when they created this Intercultural Institute of Montreal, the situation was everybody should get developed. Everybody should have democracy, Western style, development, Western style, and everybody's underdeveloped because that's not how they are. So the others, be they Indians, Africans, whatever, it is they don't have. They don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this, they don't have this. So they need this, they need this, they need this, they need this. It's a void to be filled. And so it was a big work for them to say, no, please stop doing this. They can also tell you, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this, you don't have this. So let's start to try, what do they have? And what do we have? And then how can we share? And also, what does it say to us when they say, you don't have this so very important thing for us and you don't have it, how come? And in the other way around. So we can learn something as human beings. And at least we have some respect also for different ways of living together. So this is an important thing. And this attitude leads us to, so this is like between people, it starts, so you see it already points to myself also. When you start to open up to that attitude of listening, dialogue is linked to listening. And I made an interview of Robert Vachon also, and I asked him once, because he said they had one of their collaborators in the institute, he was, I don't remember from which country in Africa, playing the percussions. And he said, and he spoke through his percussions. He said, like, sometimes it's not like the words, he had to use his, to play the tam-tam. So it's not even necessarily only talking like in words. Listening does not only mean listening to words, you can listen to other things. And so I said to Roberto, I said, so basically dialogue for you is listening. I said, yes. But it's not only listening with your ears, it's also listening with your heart. And even more deeply, is listening with your soul. But then he said, but in order to be able to listen, first you have to empty yourself. And then what he said was very interesting. Then he said, and then everything comes and talks to you. He didn't say everybody, he said everything. And indeed, once you develop this, let's say, quality of listening, life and the world becomes very alive and very talkative actually. And indeed, the sun starts to talk to you, and the moon starts to talk to you, and the trees start to talk to you, all these things start to talk to you. And even this voice from silent voice also somehow in its own way starts talking to you. So you see, for a dialogue with others, it has brought us to a dialogue with ourselves. And this dialogue with ourselves, we're trying to open up to listening what is going on. Little by little, you start to discover these two other dimensions also. This, let's say, more cosmic dimension, and this more divine dimension. And now I don't know, do some of you practice some yoga? Do some others also practice any arts? Dance or yoga or no? Yoga? See, so it's maybe not so easy to talk about it if you don't practice anything like that. But the beauty if you practice something is, one of my Tai Chi masters, he used to say, and for me that is like one of the big secrets. By the way, those of you who want, I'm there for 2 days and we can see, you can join early in the morning. we'll give a little like Tai Chi class for those who want to join. But he says the most important thing is, in English I cannot translate it as well. We can say, okay, enjoy each movement like a good cup of tea. But enjoy meaning taste it. So the thing is, whenever I'm going to do something, is you taste it. In French, déguster. What's the taste? And at the same time, you enjoy it. That's a wonderful thing, because even like simple movements, but the fact of putting this awareness who is enjoying what it is doing, it opens up a lot of things actually. But at the same time, you put this awareness of how is it? How am I? What is happening? What is going on? And by continuously doing that, it's like you refine your listening more and more and more and more and more and more and more. And the more you start then also refining this kind of listening, the more you start to get also sensitive to what is your environment, where you're practicing. Oh, and you feel drawn, I want to practice under that tree, or, because it's not the same kind of feeling in one place or another place and so on. And so for something which is at the beginning seemed very disconnected, we're talking about dialogue, we may think just about intellect, something like this, and then little by little you start to see how all these things actually very much make sense together. And how, in a certain way, for me, with different human beings, that everybody is functioning the same way, that at least for me to be able to do the work I did, for example, in the more academic world, like on intercultural dialogue, I could not have done it if I had not had my practice of these other practices besides. But then at the same time, when I had my students, when I was teaching process and legal anthropology or so, I'm not teaching these things. I'm sharing, like I'm sharing with you, but that's not what you're doing. So at some point I started to give some yoga classes at the university. For those who wanted to come, they could come. And so it was a way of also complementing the, let's say, more intellectual work that we do with the more physically grounded work. And that is something I think, I'm talking modern education system, we put so much emphasis on here. Let me read. I don't know, maybe you come here, I saw this, I was like, very thoughts. Do not be led by reports or traditions or hearsay. Do not be led by the authority of religious texts, nor by mere logic or inference, nor by considering appearances, nor by speculative opinion, nor by seeming possibilities, nor because one's own teacher has said so. When you know for yourself, after observation and analysis, that certain things are right, wholesome, and conducive to the good and welfare of one and all, then accept them, follow them. And I will even add, it's not only after observation and analysis, after experience. You experience the things. And I have spent lots of time, they invited me as an expert also, like to United Nations and Council of Europe and all these kind of things. Very often we talk about policies, we talk about things, but do we take the time to taste them and to experience what does it really mean? And as long as we don't really know, we may also be more or less sure, and then a new fashion comes along and now we do it this way and now we do it that way. But what is the rooting that it really gives you or which doesn't give you? And so it's worth, like especially I would say in our modern context, to have some activities which are rooted in something more real. And arts, I think, are beautiful ways of doing this. And you can be, okay, engineering also may have it actually, because like your building has to stand, your textile that you want, it has to work also. So you have this test of reality which is there. But to be able to experience it in your body, that you are not only your thoughts, but that you can have an awareness of your body, that there's an energy in your body, there's emotions which are there, and that things are not actually even constrained to your body alone. This kind of experience is very liberating. little bit because you feel less imprisoned, you know, in your worldview. So this kind of dialogue for me leads to one very important, and it's equality, which is often misunderstood, but which I think is very important, which is humility, to be humble. Humble does not mean that you just bow down in front of everybody and you're like this, and actually your thinking is actually not humble at all. It is, I want to be the next guy who's appointed, you know, so because I deserve it and so I will do everything. This is not humility. Humility is about recognizing that as human beings, we are very fragile. We're working on this like protective gear, you know, for drive. Why? If we were like the Supermans, we would not need any protective gear. And we have that on our physical level, we have it on our psychological level, we have it on all these levels. We're very fragile beings, as such. Which in certain ways, I think, which also gave us our advantage, like over other species, if you look from the point of view of evolution, you know, because we had to develop other things, you know, in order to be able to survive. And not only ourselves, but the world we live in is also fragile. I mean, until recently, we were not able to blow it up. Now we are. I mean, the world will survive, but we may not. And lots of other species may also not survive what we may. So recognizing this, then some people, oh, you're pessimistic, you're like, why, like we're fragile, and no, that's your strength. It's because we are open that you're able actually to let those things which are there manifest, and let them manifest in a beautiful way. If you build a wall around yourself because you want to feel so secure, okay, maybe you have your security, but you're locked into your dungeon. If somehow you manage to take away those walls little by little, you may have a view. And you may see, oh, and this side there's some seas and lakes, and here we have some mountains, and here we have this, and there's all these different species, and the fauna and the flora and the human beings, and all these things which are there. But if each time something comes along, you block it out, you know, then, okay, maybe you have a feeling of protectedness, like a cocoon, you know, you put yourself into your cocoon, still somebody can step on it. It's just that you thought, you know, that your cocoon was very protected. And then you, okay, cocoon may be nice at some point, but become a butterfly after. Don't remain in your cocoon. And so that is just like the final thing I want to finish on. It's just to say that this whole approach of dialogue, if I have to boil it down, you know, to what we're doing, is this thing of like opening up, being able to open up. But for being able to open up, we have to have this humility. And Robert Bashar, I don't know, in the same interview, just reminded of it now, said, and the more humble you are, actually the more dignified you also be. Be proud of who you are. It's not being humble to be proud of who you are. In the contrary, if you're really humble, then you can have this good pride coming. No, it's beautiful and we're allowed to be here. And now I'm teaching also yoga and Tai Chi, you know, and lots of the people I'm teaching are older, have some different health problems and so on. So if you want to teach, you know, like, okay, do this asana and that asana has to be like this, you know, and like go in the magazines, you know, and everybody's getting depressed, you know, don't even want to start to do something because you're like, I cannot do it, you know, I cannot do it properly, you know. Say, no, respect yourself, you're beautiful as you are. Learn to understand who you are. And then work with what you are. If you want to do a sculpture, okay, you take your earth at the beginning and then, you know, you mold that. You're not like, I want to have some other earth or I want to have some, no, you work with what you have. And then by doing that like in an open way, listening way, humble way, you may reveal the whole beauty which is in there actually. And so just to finish, also to say that this humility does not mean, it means also you can be proud of yourself. But not proud by putting others down. But, you know, Mullah Nasruddin, He was asked once, where is the center of the world? You know what he answered? No. He answered, it's where my donkey is attached. So one level you can say, yeah, it's where we have our business. If like your thing is that you're the researcher and you're so much like into like what you're researching, that is where your center of the world is. Even your family, your wife, your kids, maybe your real center is there. Maybe for somebody else, or it's his family, and that is where their real center is. But so on one level also, like everybody has their own center. Each of you is the king of your own kingdom. So I respect that in everybody. You know, like we're all kings. You know? We can all be proud to be kings. And then at the same time, let's all be humble because we know that the others are also kings, not only we are. And then on another level, what did he say? He said, where my donkey is attached. He did not say it's my donkey. In many traditions, the donkey is one of the symbols of like let's say not yet very refined human being. You know, some call like your personality, or let's say your lower self, or your basic what you are. Where it is attached. Where is it attached? Right, maybe no words for that. But that we will share. So also starting to recognize that we share this fundamental language. And then you cannot go about anymore putting people down or so, because how can you? I mean, it's one together. You know? So that's some of the thoughts like to open up that I wanted to give. So what I suggest now, just like open up so for your either dialectical criticism, so like it's very good, or also like don't feel shy if you want. Like it can also be sharing of your experiences. You don't have to stick with what I said, you know. But if just like generally speaking, like what has started to emerge in being together, and you feel like oh there's some story or experience that you want to share, then very welcome. And I will give to Dicty, so it's in French, but some of you do speak French, you know, so that's, you know, and I have hope, you know. So this one actually was a book I wrote, it's called Oser le pluriverbe, daring the pluriverse. You know, how to dare to live in this, not universe, but in this world which is pluralistic. So that's, and this is thing also of daring. You know, do we dare live? Or are we so scared of living, you know, that we fill our lives with stuff so that we don't have to take the responsibility of saying, oh, okay, I dare live. And the second one was more like it's vers une société éveillée. It's Toward an Awakened Society. That was more like a dialogue with the Buddhist tradition. Because, well, my philosopher friends did not know much about all these things, you know. So whenever we had philosophical debates, well, it was always on Western terms, you know, and then sometimes you like to say something, and then they very quickly dialectically destroy your position, but then you're like, yeah, but it's more complicated than that. You have to give me the time to explain, you know, but then you want to say something, you need many hours because they don't have the basics, you know. So after many years of dialogue, I thought, okay, what are, in my view, important aspects of the Buddhist tradition, not in general, but for living together in a more responsible and solidarity. And so I try to put that together. So these books, so Dicty will have them, and if there's some very courageous daughter speaks French. So let's say some of you are courageous or whatever. And there is also this internet site. I will give it to you after, but it's easy to remember. You go on YouTube, and it's called Dialogues for Change. Just do Dialogues for Change, and you let's write some things there. And so this one you're filming now, I will also put it there. And then there is one website, it's DHDI, which in French means Droit de l'homme et de l'homme interculturel, which stands for Human Rights and Intercultural Dialogue. So DHDI.free .fr. And that's where initially I had put lots of my own work, but of other people also, on intercultural dialogue and law and governance, sustainable development. So the interface is in French, but there's many, many texts in English which are also there and so on. So that's just to say, like, if you are interested, you can. Okay. So how do we do it? Like, am I the only one who has the loud voice, or?
No, it's okay.
It's okay.
You give the mic with you.
Okay.
Please, ma'am.
So where does Tai Chi fit into your developing this whole perspective? Or is Tai Chi follow, or is it an integral part of your?
Tai Chi Chuan is it's a Chinese martial art. Tai Chi means, you must have seen Yin Yang.
Yeah, yin yang.
That is Tai Chi. If you want to talk like in terms of intercultural or interreligious dialogue, Shiva Shakti. It's their way of saying that. So before Tai Chi is Wuji. Wuji is like without form, non-manifest. It's the things before they manifest. And when they manifest, the first thing is this polarity, this interaction of yin and yang. And then from this interaction of yin and yang, everything else comes. Chuan means fist or boxing. So Tai Chi Chuan is the boxing of the Tai Chi. And so sometimes Tai Chi they would call like the supreme ultimate. It's like the supreme thing as it is manifested. And maybe another thing. And so this martial art is very much rooted in the Taoist philosophy. It's a Taoist philosophy also, meaning it's not only a philosophy, it's a practice. And in the Chinese way, okay, I make a little generalization. Okay, so it's not exactly like this, but just that we have an idea. The Indians, spiritual traditions, you don't like very much to be here. You want to have moksha, you want to get out of here. Even in some yoga traditions, birth, it's a fundamental disease. It's not about like health or what. No, fundamental disease, you're born means you're not perfect. Otherwise you would not be here. So how to get out of here? That's it. How do you get out of here? And so many of the practices will be focused on that. And now other things that also come in, I'm just generalizing. There's of course lots of different traditions, but the general idea is a bit like this. The Chinese idea, Taoist idea, is much, much more about we're here, the world is as it is. How do you harmonize everything which is there? How do you harmonize with everything which is there? So how do I harmonize? And the thing which is happening is life. Life is circulating. So how do I nourish my life? How do I become healthy? And actually from the Chinese perspective, if you really become healthy, that's like in yoga, really healthy means physiologically, psychologically, spiritually, all these things, complete, perfect health. The Chinese say then you become immortal. It's, for the Buddhists, they would say you become a Buddha, or you say you reach moksha, it's the same thing, basically. But the emphasis in reaching there is different. Instead of saying I have to fight against these things because I want to get out of it, it's more like, how do I harmonize more and more with all these things which are there and around? So that little by little, when everything is completely harmonized, that just naturally happens, I return to the Tao, or become one with the Tao. And so the practice is, let's say like Wuji, Tai Chi, 5 elements, and then everything, the 10,000 things, everything which exists comes out of this yin yang. So basically what you have to do is on the one hand to do the contrary. How from the 10,000 things can you return to Tai Chi and from Tai Chi go to beyond? The yogi professionals are not allowed to answer, but the others would be curious to know if they know. What does Hatha Yoga mean? What is yoga? Yoga you know. Hatha. What does Hatha stand for? Okay, the yoga professionals? Sun and moon. It's the yin and yang energies. What do you do with Hatha Yoga? You also have to balance this polarity. You have to create the polarity, you have to get aware of the polarity, you have to integrate the polarity, and then you can go beyond that polarity. It's the same thing. Tai Chi is the same thing. So basically, how at the beginning when all your energy in your body is completely mixed up with everything? No. You have to polarize, you have to separate. Not separate, it happens naturally. And then little by little this fundamental polarity starts. And then you can go beyond that. And so in the Tai Chi, lots of the practices is first you have to take your vitality that you have to increase it, nourish it, and then refine it. That's what they call Jing. And then you will refine the Jing to Qi. Qi is a more refined version of its energy. Then you refine this more, it becomes Shen, which is the mind. You refine this more, open it up more. Then Shen becomes empty, becomes like a Wuji. And then once this is there, you become one with the Tao. And once you are gone that way, if you are a master, so this is the part to go up, then of course it's the other way around. It's the Tao which manifests itself, it will manifest in your mind, it will manifest in your energy, it will manifest in what you do. So it's like this both up and down way basically that you have to do. And so the interesting thing is that when you're practicing Tai Chi, the basic principle is very basic is this yin yang. One way you can feel it is empty and full. You know, when you're stepping, one foot gets full, the other gets empty. You know, you're always in this balance, in this shifting rhythm of things. And so as you practice more and more, you know, you discover more and more different energies, and also the part in Chinese thought they say practices where you don't move, like Qigong, Tang Chuan. You stand like for an hour, like asana, but like standing posture. And they say outside does not move, inside moves. Meaning, okay, your body does not move, but energy circulating. Then they say Tai Chi, outside moves, inside does not move. Means, okay, energy, body is moving, but your mind is completely stable and still. So, the whole Tai Chi is one way of starting to listen more and more, and also to transform basically like your human essence, if you want to put it like this. And then maybe the second thing, which is a difference between India and China, again, I'm saying in a general way, is if you look at Dharma, Dharma is very much, it's static, it's order. You know, it's more like, it's the underlying order of how things are. It's this whole thing, for you guys, and like, you know, it's like the cow standing on 4 legs, standing on 3 legs, standing on, so it's this idea of it's stable. It's something which gives stability, which is the root of like maintaining, sustaining. I think that really what corresponds to Dharma in the Chinese context is Tao. But the whole notion of Tao, it's the same, but the emphasis is a bit different because Tao is what is always changing. Tao is the change. And if you want to understand the Tao, you have to understand the change. That is why there's also practices to hold still, but then why you practice with the movements? Because you have to understand movement. You have to understand change. You have to understand how everything is changing, and how within all this everything that is changing, certain things don't change. And how is this interrelation happening? So that is where the Tai Chi Chuan will come in. And actually Tai Chi Chuan itself is only part, it's a martial art. But when you practice it, there's also other practices which which is more like they call Qigong. Qi is energy, it's meaning like pranayama, it's mastering energy. Qigong. And then you have meditation practices, what they call internal alchemy. It's like, you can say yoga practices if you want. And then you have other martial arts. And for example, in Bhutan, where I'm studying, you don't only study Tai Chi Chuan, but you study different martial arts. And actually the movements that you see in Tai Chi Chuan, which are very slow movements, that's just the first steps of the training. Because again, it works. Wherever it works, but it works. If you really want to develop the power, you have to develop the softness. If you really want to develop the speed, you have to develop the slowness. And so that's why at the beginning you just work very slowly, very relaxed, no physical power, it's only the intent. And that little by little it helps you to align your body, to energy start coming, harmonizing things, and also like not only the body, but the awareness, the energies, intent, all these things little by little come together. And then of course then you can use it quickly. In the martial art aspect it is like this. But at the preparatory phases when you're practicing it, it's all this thing of harmonizing body, mind, energy. So it also has like a health benefit, and then it also has at some level like more like a meditation in action. Instead of just sitting, your body will be practicing, but your mind will be sitting.
So if I understand it, what it means is that it's like resolving the conflicts within, so as to be able to resolve the conflicts that are in the.
See, resolving conflicts, like another way of saying resolving conflicts.
Just in a way, even if you say that yin and yang are a kind of conflict, let's say, opposing kind of things, resolve and create a harmony, accept that there are differences and contradictions, and then make them into a whole.
One thing which is very important is yes, you have to understand the polarity of things. Here you have yin yang. Okay? Here there's pa qua. Pa means 8. Qua, this like trigram is called qua. Okay, pa qua. The whole book of changes in Taoism, like I Ching, which is like maybe the most ancient book in China, where they have 64 hexagrams, okay, where they have double trigrams. So basically it's based on this thing. And these 64 hexagrams refer to 64 basic changes or phases of change that you can experience in life. So whenever you want to do something, like traditionally Chinese, you can go and you can determine what is the qua of that moment, so that you can see how you have to act. So what are these qua? Yang is one line. Yin is broken line. So when they put 3 lines, this is yang yang. Okay? So it would be heaven, the sky. When it's 3 broken lines, is yin. That's the earth. Okay, that's completely receptive. But if you only have yin yang, is life only on off? No. Life is how on moves and becomes more and more and decreases and becomes off. And then from off, we see it more in Europe. We have like the seasons with the winter and so on. Then we see that the whole nature is sleeping for 3 months, and then suddenly spring comes and again new cycle is starting. And so then again it goes up again, and then again it will come down again. So what you see here also, the quas are changing from bottom. So it will become, it's still yang yang, but it already has to become yin. Then second will also become yin. Then the whole thing will become yin. And then again from bottom it will become yang, and then second yang, and then the whole thing is yang. And so that is how you have this whole progression of yin yang. And this one is fire and water. And we are the ones where you have like the yin or yang inside of the two. So the whole study also of Tai Chi Chuan is to understand these polarities. Is to understand you cannot have good without bad. You cannot have up without down. You cannot have front without behind. You cannot have left without right. They're always there. And so one of the ways to start understanding it is in your practice. One of the rules of Tai Chi Chuan is one part of your body moves, your whole body moves. This does not exist in Tai Chi Chuan. This will exist. Why? Because I want to use my whole body. Otherwise, where's the power? If I just use like disconnected. So that's why I have to integrate. And so, in order to work in a uniform way, unified way, you have to understand that if something goes up, something goes down. What does it mean on one level? If I just go down, I will collapse. So if something goes down, something also has to go up. If something goes in front, something has to go back. If I only go in front, again I will collapse. So you always have this left, right, front, back, up, down. And then you start to see it's a whole. And one, binary in the sense that always polarities. And so once you have this sphere, then you have a center. That allows you to be centered. If you only have front ways, you center, you don't have a center because things will draw you like this and you're always drawn when you're drawn because you don't have the other part. And so you start experiencing also in your body like what it means to have alignment, what it means to have center. And then it's the same thing like psychologically. And some people will have lots of problems at the beginning because it's so slow. You know, it means that you want to go faster, you want to put power, you should not be putting power, and so there's also this whole thing, how you deal with the emotions that come up, like there's all these things going on. And so on the one hand, very true, so the polarity, and then also starting to recognize, see, also in my movement, there's a movement, okay, I'm coming, relaxing, then again, yang will come, yin will come. In the day, the same thing, yang, I'm working, then I go to sleep, yin. They want to take this away from us nowadays, but basically you work and you take some rest, and you take some holidays. If it's like you have to be like 150% all of the time, yang, it will break. It's not possible, because the natural thing is, you have to have the rhythm, yoga, shpanda and shpanda. Activate and you have to relax. You cannot only activate. You cannot only relax. You have to find this kind of rhythm. So that is this importance of polarity. But so polarity not only meaning binary in the sense of, because we are interested in the whole rhythm and how one moves to the other and so on. But the second part of the question from Dikti is resolve conflicts, how to open up. Whenever things are, I make a movement and I'm like, I don't know, I'm like this, here it cannot circulate properly. So I need to open up. So certain things you can just with your awareness, okay, you can open up. But some things deeper inside of our body, it's all our emotions, all these things which are like this, and so that's why we have like ulcers in our stomach, or we have, all these things. So actually, the more you practice, that's why it's also related to like this internal working Taoism. It's also a way of little by little opening up all the knots that we have. And so the knots being physiological knots, but psychological, they're interrelated. And sometimes maybe I've seen it doesn't happen every day, but sometimes I gave one yoga class once, and one lady came with simple things. She was crying from beginning till end. The whole class she was just crying. Because somehow just, it opened up something. So, yeah. So sometimes you work on something physical, but some other things may also get released. Sometimes, on the other hand, you work on some psychological maybe problems or issues, and you resolve it, and your practice becomes better. They are linked. And that is why they say now yoga or like Tai Chi, all these arts, they have kept very much the technique part. But it's a way of life. And why is it way of life? Because everything is connected at some level. And the danger is that sometimes not, because so many things have been published and lots of information which was like secret before is available, just like this. And so people want to push through. Before you had the master would just not give you certain practices before he thought that you were ready for doing those practices. So you had like a safety thing. And now people go on things, and yeah, maybe they have not resolved some more basic issues. But then if you start pushing certain practices, yes, they will have some effect, but it's like chasing lightning through a log of wood. It will burn. Better don't do that. Better first make the installation of your nice superconductor wiring, and then plug in. And how do you make your superconductor? You know, and like it's a purifying. But purifying is okay. You have practices. That's one thing. But what is your psychology? How do you live? Yama niyama. It's very, very important. When we have all these things about like chakras and all these things, yes. Develop your compassion. Don't do any other practices. Your heart chakra will open. Develop your insight, and it will also, there's a natural way also of opening up. Now there's also practices, and it's very helpful and beautiful to do them, but if you just do them and you don't do any of the, let's say, basic psychological being a good human being work, you know, it's not a center for human, for value education. You also have to understand there's values and values. There's values which you're taught because like a certain society or a certain thing considers that you should be doing things so that you obey them, and okay, it may be more or less unjust, like Austrian. So my country has given birth to Hitler, and well, we joined, invaded or ever been annexed, you know, by the Germans right away. And then yeah, you had a whole legal system saying horrible things, and that was the law. So is it just because like a whole system is saying certain things? So when I lived under Ceausescu, like in Romania for these 4 years, we can have a political system, a cultural system, the values that are taught are completely non-humane values. And that is why you find Nelson Mandela, I don't know how many years in prison under apartheid. Why? Because well, the values which people try to convince you to live by or force you to live by are not good values. So in that sense, it's you have to be critical also. But then, and it can be very dogmatic, that's what I want to come to. So certain values, sometimes in English when you talk value, morals, and oh, it's very dogmatic, and why should we do it, and so on and so on. But then there's another aspect of values. It means if you want to go in a certain direction, if you want to understand something about yourself, what do you have to do? You have to open up. As long as you say, okay, I don't want to open up, okay, don't open up. But if you want to understand something, the definition of understanding something is that you open up. That you put some light, that you let some light go where there was no light before. So then the question becomes, what are the things which block this opening up? And you have to release these things. And that is what is happening. Greed. I want, okay, not opening up. Jealousy, not opening up. So these values are not values in the sense of some dogma, you know, something like this. It's just to look at how a human being functions. You say, okay, you want to go from where you are and you want to understand certain things, or, well, these will be things which will be obstacles. So that's why we have to deal with them, but at the same time, they don't like to be dealt with so easy. They resist. And so then, there again, the Tai Chi, it teaches you a lot how you use also the strength of your opponent. How softness overcomes power. But in the Indian context, I don't know, all the samskaras of, I don't know, like hundreds of thousands of lives that you had, and now you stand up and you say, like, I don't want anymore, I resist. I don't know if you will resist very long. When I was doing martial arts, and one friend was 120 kgs, I was doing karate at the time. When this guy came with a kick, you couldn't just stand there and block. It's not possible. I mean, it's just 120 kgs steamrolling you. So you had to become more intelligent. When he was coming, you had to move to the sides. You know, you had to anticipate. At the moment he starts, then you start. You know, otherwise it's not possible. And in that sense, martial arts also in another aspect is quite interesting from the psychological point of view, because on a very, very physical level, you understand that you don't go very far with brute force. You're down very quickly. So you start to learn, you have to become more subtle. And in order to become more subtle, what you have to do, you have to develop your listening ability more. Okay? Funny thing is, you want to develop your listening ability more, your center has to become much more grounded. Because if you want to listen, if you don't have grounding, how can you listen? Immediately you will be drawn into what the other people is telling you. So how can you at the same time completely go out, completely be sensitive, completely open up, but without losing my grounding? That's what lots of the martial arts are. And you have in many traditions, just to say this notion of a spiritual warrior. We have the knights, you have this archetype, of the hero in the sense. You go to the conquest of yourself, and it's like. And nowadays, I feel that maybe that's what I tell my yoga students in the first yoga classes. I don't know, have some of you read The Little Prince? It's a French tale. Read it if you can. It's a nice little tale. It's about a little prince who comes from some planet and then he comes down to Earth. It's a nice book, huh? And so there is one scene, if you remember, where the little prince meets a fox. So the little prince is it's like a little boy, but he comes from a little meteorite, he's all alone. And so he's on Earth and then he meets many things he's never seen before in his life. And so he meets this little fox. And the fox tells him, "Tame me." He says, "Okay, what is this taming?" And the fox explains to him, it's like establishing links. But so you have to do it slowly. Because for example, if you come tomorrow, if you come too close, I will run away because I'm not tamed. So first day you will come, you will sit there, you just look at me for a certain time, and then you go away. Then next day you come back at the same time, so they can get used to it, and you can come a bit closer. And then little by little, I may be tamed, and we become friends. And in France, everybody knows this because that's really like one of the. And so I always tell my yoga students, that's what we're doing. It's like the little prince taming the little fox. If you start to be too harsh on yourself and you're like, you make your body very nervous. Like the people who they hurt themselves doing yoga, and before even you have started to do something, your body will be like, the crazy guy is back, resistance mode, resist him, he will kill us. Where are you going to go like this? Nowhere. Maybe you will have some improvement at the beginning, but then you get stuck on the deeper levels. So it's very important to develop this attitude of compassionate, friendly, gentle approach. And then little by little we create links, we establish links. We do yoga asanas with animals also. Okay, I have a tiger inside of me, okay, there's also a snake, let it come out. Instead of with my colleague who said something I didn't like, that was rather tiger to me. That's the snake that comes out. Unconscious. Do it in the yoga practices, we establish it, okay, it's part of me, nothing bad, I have a zoo, but let's make it a gentle and nice zoo, not a zoo where everybody is fighting the snake, is fighting the tiger, and is eating the cow, and no, let's make it a more harmonious zoo, in a certain way. And where there's even maybe a human guy also who is in charge. And so that's very important. So I just say the warrior is also important, because we have to have fights, it's true. There's certain things, it's once you want to know yourself, virya, you also have to, but in a compassionate way. Be gentle, when you have to use strength, you can use it. But one Taoist was asked, how can you reconcile this being a Taoist monk and a martial arts practice? Because ahimsa, they didn't say it like that, but basically it's also there, how you should be non-violent. Then the monk said, if somebody beats you and creates suffering for you, he's helping you a lot. Actually, he helps you evolve. He's taking away your bad karma. So this is an amazing gift this person is giving to you. But if the gift is too beautiful for you, it's too much to take for you, you can return the gift. That's a Taoist approach. Where am I standing in my evolution? If you can take it. But otherwise, it doesn't mean that everybody should just be trampling on me. That's also not very harmonious. Is it ahimsa to let other people spread violence? You know, and you just, oh, I'm ahimsa, but I just let everybody else killing, and is that correct? You know? So I like that idea. Basically, it's gentle and compassionate. But if at some point you have to, it's not that you're going to be, oh, I cannot do it. No, okay. You want to push me? No, don't do it. You show the mirror. That's another way of putting it. You make an ugly face and you start shouting and everything and listening very nicely. And it doesn't stop, and then at some point you just hold the mirror up. And then you get a heart attack by seeing yourself, you know, what you actually look like, you know, when you're like this.
So we are assuming that we are not referring to oppressed people, discriminated people, people at the margins, poor people, we are not referring to that.
In what sense? Why we're not referring to that?
Because
you have to take
compassion and, you take it as much as you can.
And that depends on everybody on their own. The people who tell me, for example, like some people told me, you know, oh, these oppressed classes, they're very happy because, you know, they can burn down their karma now and the next life will be so much better. Every oppressed people I have met and I have talked to, they don't like the situation, they want to do something about it. So I find it's a very, very not humble way, to say the least, you know, to just tell other people, yeah, no, your suffering is good for you, you know. I'm not, you know what, you should suffer, you know. No. If somebody says, I want to give back, that's their decision to take and it should be respected. I've been in some, again, who are we? Asana. What is asana? Is how you're seated, how you're, what is your seat? Sukham sthiram asana. Asana should be comfortable and stable. But it's not only your asana, your physical asana. What is your asana in life? Where do you sit in relationship to others? I have been in some meetings with some people who wanted to do some more proactive, violent kind of actions. My role in sitting there, I'm not telling them don't do it. My role is to advocate the peace side, at the same time saying, okay, look, try to look if there is not also that aspect, but the decision is yours, and I will understand if you do the violent. Same thing when you're a judge. You know, you may understand that person, you still have to give a decision. Because we need these decisions to be given. So that is why I really feel we come back to this thing of responsibility. You know, it's very easy if you can just say, oh, my tradition told me, or my community told me, you know, and so I have to act this or this way. But when you yourself have to face the dilemma, shall I do this, or shall I not do this? You know, I have to weigh this and this and this, you know, and maybe I'm wrong in what I'm doing. Or maybe I'm doing something which I'm not completely happy with, but you know, it's, I feel I have to do it. That's where we come in the beautiful part, I think, of the Western tradition, where, okay, it's, but yeah, so much about choice. You have lots of things, you have to make your choices, you know, and people, whenever they don't succeed in anything, it's like they have failed personally. Because it's not their family that pushed them, you know, to get married, or it's not the family, you know, so then it becomes your own decision, you know. Am I eating meat or not eating meat? Am I drinking alcohol? Am I not drinking alcohol? And you know, so many things are coming up. So what you pay is also a big price in terms of lots of doubt, which is there. And so that is why I was saying, like, why, no, I would not say for that community. It is inside of each of the communities, if you really talk to the people, obviously as a group, you will see that there's different struggles going on. But inside also, everybody will not agree on how should we go about it. Should we do like this? Should we do like that? It's, but the fact to negate that there is struggle, or the fact to just say, oh, if you're Hindu, maybe your next life, or you're Christian, you say in the paradise, you know? Do we really address the question? when you're suffering, and also when your families are suffering, and your children are suffering, and these are like life is not a void to be filled, but a plenitude to be discovered. You will discover very deep, dark shadows, and very nice, bright spots also. But once you want to start discovering, you will discover both of them. In the Christian tradition, we said before going to heaven, Jesus said to go down to hell. You have to know all of it. And that is why we have this aspect of do we dare to do it or do we not dare to do it? And that is why we come to this martial arts thing. I think there is something for me, but again, it's my personality, not everybody has it. I see value in that noble warrior idea. You say, no, we fight only for justice and only for things, and so on. But when we have to do it, we also do not shy away from it.
You mentioned about polarity and good and bad existing together, but then how do you understand harmonious societies? Why should one at all be interested in an harmonious society?
On a deep level, I really asked myself this question a lot, because when I started to work on human rights and intercultural dialogues, it was the beginning of the 90s. At that time, nobody was much interested in India and China, and it was very much like Western-centered, especially when we were living in the West. And so I had this feeling like, oh, you have to contribute for a better living together for everybody. And so, to be honest, I was a bit like a missionary. I was feeling like, hey, people, you should listen more to each other, and that was really the thing. And I always questioned myself, because I was like, yeah, but is that really so important, And then I was like, I could also try to do good, for the society by becoming a good doctor, or by being a good baker who gives good bread, to the people. So many things you can do actually to contribute to the world. So then at some point I just came to the conclusion, I don't know what I did in my past lives or whatever, it's my dharma or my karma, or I don't know. The thing is, my voice, my thing it's this thing, I love peace. But peace for me does not mean bad peace. Bad peace is I shoot everybody, and then it will be very peaceful because there's nobody around to annoy me. I don't like that very much. So I rather prefer like a living peace. But living peace, what does it mean? It means harmonious interactions of what is there. And probably, you see, you asked a deep question. It took me a long time to realize that is why I like martial arts. Because I also like dance, but in dance, right from the beginning, you start from a situation of harmony. I want to dance with you, and we dance together. But when you have a martial art, the person who is facing you, he wants to punch you. Maybe he wants to kill you. So it's not harmonious. And the paradox is that if you want to reply in an appropriate way to the person who is wanting to harm you, actually you have to completely open up to that person and to that situation so that you can act in the most appropriate way, in the most efficient way. And the more you start doing this, actually the whole thing becomes like a dance. And you disappear in the whole thing. It's just like what is going on. That's what's happening. That's all. And so the answer is on my personal level. It's just like, I don't know, that's my thing. I cannot give any other justification than just saying that that's, I don't know what happens. So that's what I let happen. I try to let happen. And then if I have to give one kind of rationalization, is I just find it sad that there is so much potential and so much beauty which is there, and even just looking at human beings, and that you just mess it up. And that we mess it up not only like on big things, but sometimes with our friends, we shut our friends down, our family down, we don't want to understand. Sometimes we don't even realize, we hurt people, we discard what they have to say, we realize how much we inflicted, like some deep wound sometimes to people. And sometimes, on the other hand, it doesn't need sometimes very much. Sometimes you give some time to somebody at some moment, and that plus other people who did this, and sometimes it can be life-changing for somebody in a positive way. So that's why I feel that it's worth trying to do something. And also in situations where nowadays there seems to be so much more polarization going on. In India, in Europe, in the United States, and the other is the bad guy, and then simple solutions, and this kind of thing. There I even feel like it's maybe even more important to do it, and becomes even more beautiful. There was an advertising long ago in France on some chocolate, and it was saying un peu de tendresse dans un monde de brutes, a bit of tenderness in a world of brutes. And sometimes I think about this. If you can just, with what we're doing, just give some openness, some tenderness, maybe we won't change the world, but at least we will have done this, and the more horrible the context would have been, the more beautiful that act even becomes, because you feel like even in that situation it was possible to act like this. It's the same thing about this shadow and light part that you were saying. So yeah, I see Dipti standing up, and I read the signs, the non-verbal communication, the silent hints. Okay, so for those who want, I mean, we can still, and then they are still like until Thursday morning. So if anybody wants, we can still meet up. I have nothing foreseen as such, so if you want to chat a bit. And so tomorrow morning, when Dipti will tell you, just like do a little practice together, so if you want to join, you're very welcome to join.
And the Satlons 5:45 to 7.
This 5:45 tomorrow or Thursday?
Both.
Tomorrow as well as
तो साथ के पीछे या सामने?
नहीं, बिल्कुल सामने, ब्रिज के as soon as you enter on the right.
5:45.
5. We'll start at 6 and then a little after 7.
And we should bring some yoga mat or something?
That he has to tell.
Bring it. I don't know if we use it. We do more like the Qigong things, but bring it. If you have it, we may use it.
And loose clothing.
Loose clothing. And don't come in high heels. Here, like in India, also you can do lots of things barefoot, but like in China, it's very cold, also, like in the north. So whenever you practice like the Tai Chi, it has to be flat shoes. That's important too, because you want to be, so if you like shoes like this, where you don't have your rooting. So that's another thing. That's why I was joking with that. Okay, so thanks very much. Thank you.